And I'm back with more Dual Destinies. Time for day 2 of the Cosmic Turnabout. Gonna be talking to Yuri Cosmos. This should be something. I suppose we should reconvene for the trial or something. Your Honor, could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise. Yes, my apologies. I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs. I mean, first the courtroom exploded, and then Mr. Tonate self-destructed. I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tonate. Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Tonate's actions. So you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense? Do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial so far? Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready. Very well. Is the prosecution also ready? I take it that you would like me to give the opening statement? Looks like the judge has become pretty good mind reader. Well, I certainly have seen his more fair share of colorful prosecutors. Could say something of a veteran of sorts. Let's see. In the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Terran, escaped from Launchpad 1 carrying the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launchpad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge. How could the victim climb down the ladder if he's carrying the defendant? That was the mystery we needed to solve. But Mr. Justice proved the victim was killed in the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts relating to this case? Upon a further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in the lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Dono's argument was correct. So that means the testimonies of the first two people were suspect. And just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold. That accursed fellow killed my witness. He killed Detective Arm. He definitely put the kibosh on anyone asking her about what she saw. Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has once again become the main focus of this trial. It's obvious he still thinks it's Mr. Starbuck. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Nevertheless, the defense argues there was a third person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim. To make such reckless claims in a courtroom takes a bold man. Or a stupid one. There was no third person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone doty already? Oh.
Objection!
We'll see who's the dotard if I trounce you with my years of experience, little boy. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. Furthermore, a Space Center employee saw a suspicious figure on the scene. They saw a third person? I see my sister has been running her mouth. That's right, I almost forgot that she was his sister. No matter. She did see this mysterious face clearly. Therefore, there's no evidence to indicate that this person was not my client, or not the defendant. I guess the possibility the figure was Mr. Starbuck still out there. In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene. Director Cosmos, huh? Very well. Bailiff, please bring the witness to the stand. Why, I believe I've seen you before in the newspapers. Of course you have. Of course you have, for I am Yuri Cosmos, director of the Cosmos Space Center, which was, of course, named after me, Yuri Cosmos. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me? Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging. 7 years ago, I successfully launched the Hat 1 and... Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I am trying to hold back my tears at seeing the great man standing before me. So you please proceed directly to your important testimony. I see this fine young lad as a proper appreciation of greatness. Then allow me to begin my epochal testimony. Epochal? Epochal? I'm gonna go epochal. Epochal testimony that will be recorded in the annals of history. Oh, it sure will. That speech of Prosecutor Blackwell just now sounded more to me like he was poking fun. It's probably for the best and sailed right over his head. Now then, Director Cosmos, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony. Please. Yes. Condensed, if possible. Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Taryn lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. I see. So your testimony that you claim, you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped the launching pad from the lounge, and just after the victim had been killed. Oh, the horror! The humanity! But I said what I saw, and what I saw is what I said. Courageous actions to take in the face of such a terrifying explosion, would you say? To save my men, I went personally into the epicenter of danger, risking my own life for theirs. What do you know? Sounds like he really cares. Yeah. Well, it sounds more like he was just scared and had to take a peek from far away. Is the defense ready for cross-examination? Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmos' testimony is pretty vague. I'm gonna have to press him and see what I can draw out before I do anything else. Doody-doody-doody-doody-doody-doody-doo.
Hold it!
Aura Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge, but she gave the statement it was too dark to see the person's face. Did you see the figure's face clearly? No, not clearly. The lighter they were holding illuminated the area around their feet, but other than that I could see little else. That's why I could see Taryn, but I couldn't see who the other person was. So for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck, isn't that correct? I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the kind of man who'd be capable of murder.
Objection!
When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there was no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director? Yes, that's right. Only Starbuck and Taryn were there. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark and the figure vanished. You mean they disappeared? That's all.
Objection!
The reason the figure appeared to vanish is because of it was the defendant. When the witnesses weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness.
Hold it!
Hold on. Director Cosmos, did you ever take your eyes off the scene? Just for a brief instant, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by. You took your eyes off the scene. Then this third person could have escaped. But what escape route could the person have used? The direction opposite the control room, the southern door. There was no security lock on the door, so it would have been possible to escape that way. All things are possible, right, Dono? The real question is, do you have any proof? Well... If we're just talking possibilities, we could each profess what we like. An inmate who used to be a university professor in lunar research used to say that there is a kingdom of little green men who live under the surface of the moon. As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon and then when what we've done to it. But I say, where is your proof of this quaint little kingdom exists? He's calling your theory a work of fiction, boss. And he's right. I don't have any proof yet. Still. A southern door was a possible escape route. Better make a mental note of that. Director Cosmos, may I ask you a question? Yes? 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 I will keep talking, yes. Why did you look away from the boarding lounge? That's actually another tale of bravery behind the answer to that. It was when Detective Orm saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her. You're saying Detective Orm raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure? I imagine her instincts as a detective told her they were the killer. I don't know about that. Were you able to prevent Detective Orm from firing the gun? I'm afraid I was too late. I was unable to stop her. She identified herself clearly, and then... she fired 2 warning shots at the shadowy figure! This information about Detective Orm's action sounds critically important. Please add it to your testimony. While I remember what tone of voice I'm using. Bullet hole, it's just one hole.
Objection!
Are you sure you're really paying attention to what Detective Orm was doing? You doubt my words? Words that will someday be written down in history books? Somehow I don't think those exact words will ever be written down in any history book. Mr. Wright, could you please explain yourself so we can understand? You say Detective Orm fired 2 warning shots, and yet only 1 bullet hole was ever found in the scene. What? Only 1 bullet hole meant the gun was only fired once, and yet Director Cosmos is saying that Detective Orm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such a glaring contradiction in a history book.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirm that 2 shots were fired from her gun.
Objection!
But there was only 1 hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet hole vanish to? Ah! You should know the answer to that already. I should. During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same as the detectives. Oh! What? Ah, crap. The rifling marks also match up. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Orm's gun. Rifling marks. They're like a gun's fingerprints. And yes, we examine the rifling marks on a bullet. We can tell which gun it's fired from. One of the bullets the detective fired was found in the holographic image. The other bullet came to a stop near the victim's oxygen tank. The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots. My beautiful contradiction. It's gone. It's all gone. So that bullet hole was from .38 caliber, huh? Better update the record. Bullet hole, bullet hole. Okay. Very good. Now we know the fate of both of the shots that Detective Army fired. I said Army. I meant Arm. We're gonna get to a person named Army later. Mr. Wright, does this clear up all your questions? Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display, the other hit the oxygen. No. No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber? That doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found near the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person. Oh. Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting, Mr. Wright. What piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person? A 10 caliber bullet. And what is this metal pellet supposed to be? Just a little something of great importance we found at the crime scene. You found it where? In a floor gutter at the crime scene. Looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a 10 caliber bullet, making it much smaller than the one in the .38 caliber. Then that means... Exactly. One more person must have been in there in the lounge. A third person who had a gun that could fire 10 caliber bullets. And if that's true, it explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. The third person fired at Detective Arm and Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director? It looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. You're absolutely correct. A mysterious person fired upon us. What's this now? What? You never breathed a word of any of this to me before. Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know? Foolish geezer. So Director Cosmos really has been hiding the presence of a third person all along? Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to what you know about what you really saw. Good luck getting it out of him. You may be a great man, but in the courtroom, you're just another witness. You won't receive special treatment. Now, please give accurate testimony. Detective Arm and I rushed to the control room together. In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and tearing on the floor. We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us. Given that there was no third person in the lounge when the witness there's no third person in the lounge when the witness ended it, does that mean the person who fired the gun must have been the defendant? Not necessarily. It's still possible with someone else. Most likely, as soon as Detective Arm and Cosmos discovered the person, they escaped through the southern door, the one that didn't have the security lock.
Objection!
Double-edged swords are a tricky lot. Mishandle one, and it's you who is cut down. Your reasoning could apply if Spaceboy were the killer as well. Think about it. After being discovered, he could have fired the 10 caliber gun. Detective Arm would have responded by firing the 2 warning shots. All he had to do was feign unconsciousness to invent the possibility of a third person. But Mr. Starbuck didn't have a gun in his possession when he was found by the police. Nor has a gun been found at the crime scene. Its absence can only be explained if there was a third party who took it with them.
Objection!
Recall the existence of a trash chute in the boarding lounge. The defendant could have simply thrown the gun down the chute.
Objection!
But you can't deny the possibility of a third person having a weapon.
Objection!
It's up to you to prove that possibility. And I trust you haven't forgotten my little piece of decisive evidence. What evidence? Why, the detonator switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, naturally. The most compelling evidence of all that tells us he is the culprit. Oh! I did forget about all that. Look, your baldness, how deliciously obvious it is they lack the evidence to rival mine. Then he sliced our third person theory to ribbons and served it to us just like that. Just like that. Well, I have a question of my own, actually. That bullet and that mysterious figure shot, what did it hit exactly? It hit me. So does that mean you're a ghost? I was wondering when you two realized your baldness. Director Cosmos is an authentic, bona fide ghost. He can even pass through walls. Oh!
Objection!
Prosecutor Blackwell, shame on you for teasing a nice old gentleman. Your baldness, it was all jest. Please show yourself again. Are you sure? In that case, how did you manage to survive being shot? I'm glad you asked. It was a miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself. The bullet hit my Medal of Honor, whereby it ricocheted, saving my life. What? I've actually seen that trope used in stuff like gargoyles and shit, so it can happen. I think, yeah, didn't Mythbusters prove that depending on the thickness of the badge and the material you make, it actually can work? That's unbelievable. I have to check this out. Oh, wow. Look at that. There's one extra Galaxia star. The odds are literally astronomical. Guess it really was a miracle. It's beginning to really feel like the cosmos is watching out for this guy. But why did you conceal this information? A great man such as myself has to hide things on occasion, no matter how much it hurts. It is the plight of the truly great. It may be hard for this generation to understand. I don't know, it sounds kind of fishy. What else is he hiding? Let's just cross-examine him and see what we can find out. Now then, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. Okay, board of the statement, we're still in the central control room. Okay.
Objection!
Director Cosmos, I believe what you're telling the court is a glorious lie. A great man like me tell a lie? Have you ever heard such a thing in all of history? My accusation is based on the positions of the people who were in the lounge. According to your testimony, you and Detective Arm were over in the control room door, and the mystery figure was standing in the middle of the boarding room lounge. If, as you say, the figure had fired a gun from that position, the bullet would have traveled in this direction. However, we found the 10 caliber bullet here. Oh! This trajectory and where the bullet was actually found contradict each other. Dr. Cosmos, where were you when you really were being shot at? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the human merry-go-round.
Objection!
I kind of want to do that, but I also kind of don't. I bet I'd throw up really quick. Don't tell me you've forgotten already. Didn't the witness himself just tell you the bullet hit his metal? Of this, there is no mistake.
Objection!
But in the case, the bullet should have been found near the east side of the room. Are you trying to say you could explain this inconsistency? Of course. I didn't think... Wait, what? Oh, great director Cosmos. Yes? Is there something you'd like to ask me to expound upon? You were, in fact, not in the control room to the east, were you? You were looking into the lounge from the door to the south, is that not right? What are you getting at? Use your own brain. Your head must have some other use than housing a bird's nest. Bird's nest? Why does everybody pick on me for my hair? Director Cosmos and the decisive witness. Or the detective witnessed the scene from the southern door. The killer fired at them from there, which is why the bullet was found in the south. Well, that makes more sense, actually. Also, the witness being at the southern door is rather favorable for the prosecution. Huh? I got a bad feeling about this. How about it, Director? If you don't tell me the truth this time... Hey! His handcuffs! You will become but rust upon my sword. I relish the chance to cut down a great man. All right, I'll tell the truth. Just put your sword away! You're correct. I, the great Yuri Cosmos, was looking into the room for the southern door. That's the complete opposite of all the testimony. And now you have lost your possibility of a third person in the room. I have? How? The director and the detective were near the southern door, meaning the killer couldn't have escaped through there. The western door required print recognition. The corridor beyond was filled with smoke. The only escape route left was the eastern control room door. And the only way to get through there was with Director Cosmos' fingerprints. In short, there was no escape for any third person had there been one. No! My third person just disappeared. Like one of Trucy's magic tricks. Order in the court! Director Cosmos, why did you tell such an outrageous lie? Have you been talking to this guy for 5 minutes? You were covering for the defendant, isn't that right? Yes. It was all for the love of my men. If I said I was in the eastern control room, it would mean the culprit could have escaped through the southern door. It would have meant that there could have been a third person. All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for the third person. What a convoluted lie. Was he really covering for the defendant? It looks like we've come to a conclusion. That the defense's argument, the possibility of a third person, has crumbled. No! It's over. This judge is about to hand down the verdict. Think, Phoenix, think. It's the perfect time to try and turn my thinking around. The third person unknowingly escaping the scene. What if one of the people at the scene was the third person? Wait. What if the whole premise is all wrong? Director Cosmos said that he and Detective Arm rushed the scene together. But what if that premise isn't true? What if one of them reaches the scene before the other one? And that person entered the lounge? Then that would be the third person! The defendant is the only one who could have killed the victim and shot the director. There doesn't appear to be any room for argument. I will now render my verdict.
Objection!
Please wait! There's still one possibility. Oh, this had better be good, Mr. Wright. There's one and only one person who could have escaped from the scene, and that person would have been the first to have arrived at it. And then, upon entering the boarding lounge, the second person to arrive came through the southern door. That's why the first person fled from the room, using an escape route that was accessible only to him. Very well, let's hear more about this theory. Who is the one person who could have escaped from the boarding lounge?
Take that!
What? But that's... Mr. Wright, what are you claiming here? Of all the people who were at the scene, only the witness could have escaped. The director is the only one with the authority to open the control room door. But that means... Exactly. The true identity of the third person is our current witness, Director Yuri Cosmos. What? What? Order! Order in the court, I say! Mr. Wright, explain yourself in more detail. I assert that Mr. Cosmos arrived at the scene before Detective Arm and entered the boarding lounge alone. Detective Arm arrived after that and saw a suspicious figure who was actually Director Cosmos standing in the lounge. And that's why she fired 2 warning shots. I've been hit! I've been hit on the starboard side! Captain Wright, that was a direct hit on the enemy ship, sir. Magnificent shot. Warning shots fired from the enemy ship. Prepare to intercept. Cosmos, you told a lie in this court once again. I've been hit. I've been hit on the port side. The enemy's called in reinforcements. Earth to Cosmos, requesting permission to ask you to return to reality. But my ship won't go down with anything less than the ultimate weapon of evidence.
Objection!
Oh, but I do have evidence. In fact, you could say that your battleship bears a scar. Director Cosmos is the third person Aura Blackwell saw. Director Cosmos must have been the one who fired the 10 caliber gun. When Detective Arm discovered him in the lounge, it only makes sense that he would have turned and shot at her. Therefore, the evidence in the director's body is of a different kind of relevance than before. Once we compare it against another piece of evidence, the mark that you have received of the third party will be all the proof we need. To prove that you were there, you were the only one in there in the lounge. Brace for further impact! Comparison against this evidence will prove you were the one in the lounge.
Take that!
A .38 caliber bullet found on the floor of the scene didn't hit the oxygen tank. It hit his metal. If we have the ricochet mark on the metal and analyzed, we can be sure it'll match up. And if that mark proves to be from a .38 caliber bullet, it will prove that you're the third person we've been looking for. The bridge is destroyed! Losing altitude! All hands abandon ship! If that's true, then what about the bullet that hit the oxygen tank? It was a 10 caliber bullet. In other words, it was the bullet fired from Yuri Cosmos. Isn't that right? No! You've got it all wrong! What? The engines have started again? It's a miracle! I'm not going down yet! We need to stop this at once and confess the truth. It's really hard to keep both of their voice mannerisms in check, because I know that Yuri is a little bit... But I still have the judge being very gravelly too, so it's kind of rough. If you don't want the history books to say that a great man was a great liar, then accept your fate and tell the truth. Are you giving me orders? Me, the great director of the Cosmos Space Center? But the cosmos revolves around me! Ah! I love how he spins. Someone get me off this thing! Just stop spinning. Order at the court. Will someone stop the witness from spinning? Bleh. 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 Thank goodness we were able to stop him from spinning off the face of the earth. While he was twirling, I took the liberty of running an analysis on the mark of the metal. It was made by a .38 caliber bullet, matching it with the size of Detective Arm's firearm. Aren't you ready to confess the truth? No! You've got it all wrong! This is just a misunderstanding! Is he gonna start piling on more lies? Looks like it. No matter how many lies he tells, I'm just gonna expose them one by one. I'll make the big liar tell a truth. Yay! We do win a day, yay! Alright. So, the next episode, we'll keep talking to Yuri Cosmos. So, see you next time.